Welcome to the first lesson on Introduction to Finance. In this lesson, we will define present value and future value and discuss the main formulas. Frequently, companies need to choose between investments in different projects. An investment is basically a set of cash flows that differ in size, timing, and risk. For example, for the first project, you need to invest $10 million now. It is an outflow. That's why the number is negative. You're not going to get any profits during the first 2 years, as the factory would be under construction. It is expected that you will gain some revenue in year 3, and after that, your factory will start to work at full capacity, generating $5 million in revenue annually. Now, the tricky part is how to compare these projects and their cash flows and choose the best investment. You can't just add up the cash flows. Each cash flow has different time value. For example, the value of $1 million that the company will earn in a year is higher than the value of the same amount that the company will get 1 year later. So the sum of these amounts would be misleading, and you won't be able to compare the totals. What you should do is to take the cash flows of each project, Project 1, Project 2, Project 3, and calculate their individual present values. For instance, assessing Project 1, you need to know the today's market value of this $1 million that the company is expected to gain in 3 years. Or what is this $5 million worth today? And this one. Once you know the today's value of each of these cash flows, you will be able to sum them up. Let's look at some examples. Let's imagine you have $1 million. You can lend this money to your friend's company that offers you a 5% interest rate per year. And let's believe that that interest rate is guaranteed. You can also invest it in a 1-year project and earn $20,000. Or you can lend your money to company ABC and collect $1.2 million in 3 years. Or finally, you can purchase some bonds and get coupon income. Which option would you choose? Let's look first at the offer of your friend's company. If you don't do anything, you will stay with the initial $1 million. So at moment 0, you will have your $1 million. Now, if you decide to lend it only for 1 year, you will get back $1,050,000 in a year, which is 5% increase as agreed. So you spend $1 million now, and that is an outflow, and that's why it is a negative $1 million. And you earn $1,050,000 in a year. Now, if you decide to stay for another year, you will not get anything at the end of the first year. But at the end of the second year, you will get $1,102,500. And lastly, if you go for the third year, you will not have any cash until the end of the third year, when you will collect $1,157,625. You can also calculate these numbers by using this formula, where R is an interest rate and N stays for the number of periods in future. For example, in the case of a 3-year loan, you know the present value, which is $1 million, and you want to know its future value in 3 years at 5% interest rate. Now, if you do the calculations, you will get the future value in the year 3. The same logic applies to the previous 2 cases. You can see the calculations in orange. Let's stress again that these are the future values of today's $1 million. Great! Now let's look at option 2. You can invest $1 million now in a 1-year project and earn $20,000 in a year. So in a year, you will get $1,020,000. But what is the today's value of $1,020,000? What is the present value of it? You can calculate that based on this formula, which is basically the same as the one we've just seen. We know the future value, the number of periods, and the interest rate. we use the same interest rate as we did in option 1, as this interest rate is guaranteed. So the present value is $971,000. Given that, option 2 does not look appealing. It doesn't make sense to spend $1 million on it. This project is worth $971,000 only. It is too expensive. You can also compare it with option 1. You will earn $30,000 more in a year if you invest your $1 million in option 1. Alright, option 3. You can actually lend your money to company ABC and collect $1.2 million in 3 years. So you spend $1 million now. You are not going to earn anything during the next 2 years. And you will get $1.2 million at the end of the 3rd year. Perfect. Again, $1.2 million is future money. You should calculate how much it is worth today, what its present value is. You can use the same formula. You know the future value, the number of periods, and the interest rate. Again, we use the same interest rate as in option 1 because that interest rate is guaranteed. So the present value is $1,037,000. In other words, you can spend $1 million for something that is worth $1,037,000. That is a good deal. You can also compare it with option 1. You will earn less in 3 years if you go with option 1. Option 3 seems more attractive. And finally, option 4. A bit more challenging example. You can also invest $1 million in some bonds that will have this stream of cash flows. So, at the end of the 1st year, you will earn $40,000. At the end of the 2nd year, you will get $40,000 as well. And at the end of the 3rd year, you will get $1,050,000. In order to calculate the present value of the project, you should calculate the individual present values of these cash flows. The present value of the first cash flow is $38,000. For year 2, the present value of the cash flow would be $36,000. And for year 3, the present value of $1,050,000 would be $952,000. Now the present value of the whole project would be the sum of these individual present values. So it is $1,027,000. As we see, the investment in the bonds is worth $1,027,000. It is a good deal as we are going to spend only $1 million. However, if you compare all the options, the best option will be the 3rd one as it has the highest present value. Let's now sum up. The future value is the amount you will have at a specified date in future based on an assumed growth rate. The present value is the amount that one would need to invest today to have a given cash flow at time n. You can use these formulas to calculate future value and present value. Remember, if you deal with projects with a stream of cash flows, you should calculate the individual present values of these cash flows and then sum them up to compare projects.